Hallelujah. Greetings, everybody. Greetings once again. This is a wonderful Friday. We come to you again with our program, The Youth Destiny Connect. We are here on Jmcd Diaspora Radio. And today, once again, we have our guest, none other than Suzan Changorok. She is that woman that I have respected her journey to where she is today. She's one of those girls that I love. And, the integrity, the consistency is something that is to be reckoned with. And being that she's from my own village, she's from Ser, Keringate area. Those who are watching us from West Pokot County will understand more when we talk about those areas, and you can be able to agree with us that God is not a respecter of men. In fact, Dr. Chemtai, leo nataka niweke wimbo Mungu afuati protocol, because the way Danny, you have worked, if God was to follow protocol of saying that those people who are well off, those people who have come from good families, those people who have good backgrounds are supposed to be the only ones that will get a PhD or that will succeed in life, then some of us will not be in any of those rates, But God is not a man. God is God by himself. He doesn't need any help to be God. He's God. And that's why today I was like, I think we need to listen to Mungu Afati Protocol before Dr. Chemtai can take us to another level. So I would want you to listen to protocol, because the story of Dr. Chemtai is so amazing, and it is something that you may want to listen to sometimes and say for sure, Mungu afuati protocol, na kama kweli angefuata protocol atungekuwa mahali tulipo siku ya leo. So I will be able to bring the song after Daktari aonge, because today we are talking about mental wellness, and then after this we will be able to listen to the song. So Dr. Suzan is a PhD holder in clinical psychology, for those of you who were not here last week, and also she is a daughter of the late Reverend Changorok, I think. So he's a man of God that I didn't get to meet him in person, but I've heard a lot about him, and this encourages me, being a pastor's wife and servants of God, that it is good to continue serving God. That even if you will not be here, there are things that we do now that it will just come and bless our children. So I'm so blessed by Daktari and her family and what God is doing in that very family. So for today, I don't want to talk much. I'll be welcoming her to be able to take us to this lesson of today. And for today, we are talking about mental health of a youth, mental wellness. And majorly, she has written several books on this topic. She's also a lecturer and dealing with this very, very area. That's why we felt it was very good for us to get a chance to get to listen to her, because from a professional point of view, and also being someone who is spiritually, she understands the things of God, and she can be able to help us more and take us to a new level of understanding. So I'll be able to pray and then hand over to Dr. to take us to the next level. Let us pray. Mighty and everlasting God, we thank you for this day. Thank you for you have been a good God. You have taken good care of us. You have been a God that has blessed us and guided us in many ways. Right now, Father, I pray for your servant as she starts to speak, that may you use her powerfully for the glory and honor of your name. For it is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Karibu sana daktari.
Yes, thank you very much, Pastor Doreen. It's a pleasure to meet you again after last week's session. I really thank God because when we serve people, we also serve God. So our service to people is a service to God. And I really actually, like you said, my father did a lot in West Pokot and in different areas. And I think especially issues of peacekeeping in Laikipia, if I hear anything Laikipia and conflicts, it takes me to my dad. Yeah, so I really thank God for my dad and the contribution that he made in the community. And I think even this, what we are doing and what you are also doing is giving back to the community in a different way and just empowering and creating awareness on so many issues. So I really want to thank God for the opportunity that he has given us. So I want us to look at the issue of mental health, which is a big issue now in the world. Like it's one of the issues that the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and any other are actually focusing on a lot. And it actually came out so much in the limelight during the COVID-19 period, because now that is where I think people were in touch and decided to realize that I think the issue of mental health actually must be given priority. And from that, then the issue of awareness and just having some of this conversation that touches all of us. So mental illness doesn't choose whether you are a child, you are an adolescent, whether you are an adult, whether you are single, married, whether you are employed or unemployed. It touches everybody, whether you are an ordinary person or you are a pastor. You know, when I was growing up, I thought we are untouchable because our father is a pastor and even going to heaven is automatic. And so there are so many things that I thought. So, but then I came to realize that all of us suffer mental illnesses in different capacities. And so I want us to look at the presentation that I have prepared today on mental health. Mental health problems among youth. You know, as I said the other time, youth are very important category of people in life because of the contributions that they make. They are young, they are energetic, they are creative, and participate in many things in the community. And so when it comes to these issues of mental health, then they are not excluded. Yeah, and due to many transitions, some of them now leave their parents and they want to go live alone, and they start looking for jobs and start looking for mates, and others start having families. And so all these issues come with challenges that are different. And so I want us to look at quickly on what mental health is. And according to the WHO, it says it is a, let me minimize this. Yes, it is a state of well-being whereby an individual recognizes their abilities and able to cope with normal stresses of life. They work productively and fruitfully and also make a contribution to their communities. Yeah, so when you are able to wake up, do your house chores, groom yourself, take care of yourself, dress well, and go out and work and contribute. If it is a company, you are working and you're able to productively give back to that company and also serve people at different capacities, whether it's in the hospital, then you are, that means that you are able to give back, you are able to function normally. But now when there is a mental illness, you are not able to do that because it reduces your productivity. So as a youth, they are also the same definition also it applies to them, because mental health is general to all of us. And so when you, and then that doesn't mean that we don't go through challenges. There are normal stresses every day that we face. You are going to work and there's a lot of jam, that maybe your computer crashed and there was a presentation. There are so many things that contribute to that. And so the issue of mental health affects how we feel, how we think, and how we act. So as an individual, as a youth, sometimes people will be like, how is she or he acting? I don't know what they are thinking. Their actions are weird, they are strange, I don't know what's happening. So people will start looking and realizing that there is something wrong. And so because it affects how we think, how we feel, and now when we feel and think differently, maybe because we are not feeling well, then even how we act and carry ourselves is also different. So it affects our action, and because it affects how we think, our thoughts, and also how we feel. And so the issue of mental health, as I said, it affects children, adolescents, and adults. So the youth are here in this category. And then there's also the issue of stigma, social exclusion, and discrimination. When when youth have these issues, they are also excluded. And there are many things that they might not even be involved because people think that something is wrong with them and they should not participate in that. But now, since this is also a Christian platform, I want us to have a small basis of biblical examples of people who had mental health problems. And some of the words that the Bible uses is words like downcast, brokenhearted, troubled, miserable, despairing, and mourning. And if you look at this word, we can actually easily pick some of those people who use such words. And if we look at Jonah chapter 4, verses 3, it says that now, O Lord, take away my life, for it is better for me to die than to live. Yes, I think that was so at that time when Jonah was running away and the fish brought him back. Yeah, even after he had victory, he wasn't happy. When people were excited and everything, he wasn't happy, and it reached a point where he said it's better for him to die. And then Job, we remember he had issues. He had health issues, and I think there were boys, and it came to a point where even the wife told him that, you know what, I think you just need to curse God and die. And so it is a place where there is a sense of hopelessness and giving up. I think the other people felt like, why still holding on to this God who is not helping you? But again, Job did not, but he acknowledged that in Job 3:26, that I have no peace and no quietness, I have no rest, but only turmoil. Yeah, that means that he was going through anguish, through a lot of pain that he was going through. But then he didn't give up. He didn't give up on God. He didn't curse God as his friends were saying. And so we also look at Elijah when Jezebel was after him, and it reached a point where he said that I've had enough, Lord. And he said, take my life. I'm no better than my ancestors. Yeah, I think this looks funny, but I think it came to a point where Elijah said, no, but I just want to die. And he lied down. But then when he thought he was going to die, he found himself awake and alive, and the angels wanted to feed him. And you're like, what, again? I am alive here? So Elijah was depressed, yeah, because again, Jezebel was pursuing him, and he wasn't thinking like, you know, I don't think this is right. So he was there in the wilderness, in the bush, running upside down, and Jezebel was not giving up. And so it reached a point where he was like, no, I just want to die. We also look at David. David is one of the people in the Bible that God referred to as a man after his own heart. But then again, he went through a lot, and he went through grief when he lost his son. He went through trouble. He was troubled. He battled despair, deep despair. But I like David because even when things were upside down, he would quickly come back to God and say, you know what, I still need you. My strength still comes from you. I will always rejoice. I will praise you. And so that doesn't mean that as Christians, as youth, we are not supposed to go through trouble. All of us go through trouble. So that was just a basis from a biblical perspective that even people in the Bible had mental health issues, but then again, God came through and they had victory. And again, David was the only man in the Bible that God mentioned as a man after his own heart. That means that he was able to he was able to come down and just be there and acknowledge the presence of God, despite everything that he was going through that was really weighty and grieving. So some of the common mental disorders among youth, which also cuts across the other adults and children, most of them here are for adults. There are anxiety disorders, which someone is having excess worry and fear of uncertainty or things that they think that they are that is a threat to their dignity and safety. And then we have depression, which most of the time when depression is severe, and it's very, actually, I think one of the leading causes of death among people worldwide, second to this automobile. So many people die because of depression, and it's a very common mental disorder among youth, children, and adults. And so when somebody is severely depressed, that they start having suicidal attempts, thoughts, and then definitely at the end, when they are hopeless and feel helpless and feel like there is no way out, then they commit suicide. And then we have PTSD, and I think one of the person in the Bible who committed suicide was Judas. He had a lot of guilt, and he thought, you know what, I better be dead. Yeah, so he committed suicide because of too much guilt. And so we also have post-traumatic stress disorder, which comes from things that are, whether we experienced or we witnessed people having any traumatic incident or event, maybe car accident or a death that was cruel, and maybe sexual abuse, physical abuse, domestic violence. Maybe you have grown in a family where there was domestic violence, your parents were fighting. So some people re-experience and have some of these symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. And then we have schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a condition where people hear voices. Yeah, you hear voices, people are talking to you and you are responding to them, but anybody else is not hearing. Then some of them, so it can be voices, you hear voices, you feel, you smell things that people are not able to smell, and then there's also delusion as one of the symptoms of schizophrenia. And this where people feel a sense of grandiosity, like they are big. Somebody will say, I'm Jesus, I've come to save the world, I am John the Baptist, or I am in love with the president, or I'm in love with the CS, like big people. And they're like, what is this? What is happening? And so when people are talking to themselves, that is sometimes where people say, because we see when they walk in the market, but they are not wendawazimu, because they just have a mental illness, because nowadays they hear voices and they respond. It's like they have a conversation with people who are not there. And then we have personality disorders, which affects our pattern, and it looks weird when people look at you. They think you are strange, because some of the disorders, like antisocial personality disorders, you disregard the rights of other people. And you start robbery and fight, and so most of these people find themselves in the wrong side of the law, and they are put to jail. We have narcissistic personality disorders, which affects the youth also. Somebody will start having a sense of entitlement. They feel they have an inflated self-esteem. And then we have eating disorders, which are very common among youth. They are obsessed with their bodies and their weight. So they will want to do anything so that they don't add weight. If they eat, they will want to eat, maybe to use laxative so that they throw up, and then they won't add weight. So they are obsessed on how their body looks, and they don't want to look like they've added any weight. So eating disorder is very common among the youth. And then we have bipolar disorder, which also is common among the youth. And of course, now alcohol and substance use. And then we have adjustment disorders. When you are not able to adjust, when you're not able to have a smooth transition from one state, maybe, for example, you got a job here and now you have another job in another company and you're not able to move. If it is the university, you are changing from this, you are going from high school to the university, and you're not able to adjust within the first 3 months. So that is adjustment disorder. So some of the effects of so how do we identify when the youth, the people, and we live with them in our families? How are you able to tell that there is a problem here? So sometimes people have shift their mood from being very happy to more sad and angry. Like drastically, and somebody will be wondering, why do you look sad every day? And then they also, some of the people in the youth, you can also observe that they avoid places, situations that they don't routinely avoid. Maybe they used to go play basketball, they go to Kasarani and watch football and things like those. But now they are avoiding the situation. And then we have explosive behaviors like anger outburst and non-compliance. So they are angry and you're like, now what did I do? This person is very angry all the time. And people are wondering around you, what is this? What is happening? And then there is also preoccupation with death and the fear of death, which is too much. Like, you see, normally you fear death, but again, you will live, like you will not be stuck there. Like think about every day, you know, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Yeah, and sometimes it indicates that then somebody will have suicidal thoughts, and sometimes they can actually commit suicide. But when somebody is so much preoccupied with death, then they have, it's a sign that they have a mental problem. And then also behaviors that this one is not supposed to be here. Then withdrawing from people, you know, when you youth, like they really like a lot of interaction with friends, they go out, they go partying, but then all of a sudden they don't want to be invited, they don't want to go to people's birthdays, so they withdraw. They withdraw from people, and then others will shift from being talkative and to being overly quiet, yeah, which is like some people will be able to pick, like, you know, there's something wrong, yeah, but then they are not able to pick, see. And then they shift from high marks, like if you are in the university, high school, your performance goes down, yeah. If you are in the dean's list, then you find yourself in the probation list, and then you are giving warnings from school, or you are asked, if you don't improve your performance, then I don't think you are going to continue with the school. So drastically, if you are an A student, you drop to a C minus or a D plus drastically. And then if you are maybe in the university, you are getting a GPA of 3.8, 3.5, then you drop to 2, which is really low in the university. And then they also have problems with concentration, memory, and ability to think clearly. They forget, and if they are in class, they are not able to concentrate because of the too much things that are thinking. And so that also affects their performance and how they make decisions and everything. And then loss of interest in things that they used to enjoy, this one is very common in youth who in people who have depression, and then feeling tired and low energy, okay? And so this is also common in depression, people with depression. And then weight loss or failure to gain weight with growth, yeah? So sometimes eat alone and your friends say, well, nakula, and they are not even adding weight, you know. And so there is also a time when you can go to the hospital and the doctor weighs you and asks you what has been happening in the last 1 month or something. How much are you weighing? And then they will look at that and tell you, no, you need to be careful because this weight is not healthy for you. And then we have somatic symptoms such as headache, stomachache, and backache. This one is very also common among children and adults and adolescents and youth because people complain. This one is where you can go to the hospital, you are checked, they do blood tests, they do everything, if it is scan, and they don't find anything. You have a lot of complaints of pains everywhere, but then they can't find anything. I've seen people who have gone to so many hospitals. They've gone from their district hospital, they found themselves in Kijabe, they found themselves in Kenyatta Hospital, in Mbagathi, they've gone to Nairobi Hospital. They've done many tests, but there is nothing that is showing any physiological basis for that. So most of the people have some of the disorders called the psychosomatic symptoms, and it's a psychological issue but now it's manifesting physically. And so somebody is able to complain of physical complaints like headache, backache, and that. And then also they lose appetite, and this is very common. If the youth, I think people at that age, they eat, yeah, like they don't have a problem with eating, but then when they lose appetite, then it's a sign that something is wrong. And then an intense fear of weight gain because concern of appearance. Now this is where the eating disorders come. It is very common among youth. And then behaviors turning to those of younger age, like bedwetting, actually throwing tantrum and becoming clingy and also encopressive. People, sometimes you find people in high school or even university, they start bedwetting and you're like, what is happening here? And then encopressive is when people start soiling themselves. You defecate on yourself inappropriately, and not that there are no washrooms. Yeah, you just find yourself, you've soiled yourself, and this happens a lot. And I've actually encountered most of this. And so people are like, you are behaving like a child, you are behaving like a kid, but it's not like somebody is behaving like a kid. Some, like, people, others start thumb sucking. Imagine you are in high school and you are thumb sucking. That is a behavior that okay, those are some of the things that we'll see babies doing. But then you are in the university and you are in the high school and you are thumb sucking. Yeah, and sometimes because of the shame, you'll do it alone. When you are alone, maybe when you are sleeping, you start thumb sucking so that people don't look at you. Because when you are anxious, you go back to something that will make you comfortable, that will soothe you. And then some of the youth will also have self-harming behaviors. This one is very common. Some will start using a razor blade to cut themselves. So you find them with a lot of marks because of that. They have a lot of pain. They have a lot of anger. They have a lot of bitterness in them. And so when they cut themselves, they feel like they are relieved. Yeah. And so this is also common among the people who are depressed. So self-harming behavior is very common among the youth. They cut themselves. They cut themselves until the blood comes out, which is very common. But then people will start noticing. So those are some of the things that you will see. It's not that it was an accident when they do it repeatedly. And then there is aggression, where you find yourself in fights with people all the time. And then the other one is excessive worry and anxiety. And then outburst, extreme irritability. You become angry when something small makes you irritable. And then bullying others. You start hitting others and having a lot of fight and teasing others, which is very common again among the youth. And then deviant behavior such as theft and robbery, which actually now is common among the antisocial personality disorders. And most of these people maybe started when they were a bit younger. So they started being cruel to animals, and these are the children who suffocate frogs. You find them skinning a cat alive. They skin it when it is still alive. So when they are very insensitive with people's feeling, and when and sometimes they can use weapons, very cruel weapons, to fight with their friends. And then there is the inability to cope with daily problems and activities, and then they start abusing drugs and alcohol. Yeah, so you find somebody in high school, they use it, and you ask them what is happening. They say, no, if you stay in our house for 1 day or 1 week, you will look for bangi, you will look for alcohol, because our house is chaotic. My parents fight all the time. But of course, there is no justification for doing this. But now, when you start seeing them using, then you find out that there is something wrong. And then some of the things that can put the youth at risk, I can go through them quickly, is genetic factors. Some of the youth can actually inherit it from their family if there was a first-degree family member who had this. But then it is not automatic that if you had a relative who is having depression, then automatically you will have it. No, it doesn't mean that way. But there are others who are more predisposed and they can get it. And for you, you might be having a first-degree relative, but then you don't get it. But there are also people who have alcohol. You find maybe your great-grandfather was taking alcohol, your father, your grandfather, my brothers, all of you in the family are taking. That is also passing from one generation to the other. And then we have some of the environmental factors like child abuse, traumas, sexual abuse. Some of the youth were sexually abused, neglected when they were younger. And so now that is coming to affect them later and having issues like post-traumatic stress disorder. And then social isolation and loneliness, when you are isolated for a long time without socialization, and then experiencing discrimination and stigma, also racism. This also can contribute to, can make you at risk of developing mental illness. We also have parental marital instability. When our parents are consistently fighting, domestic violence, you find that Even when people are in the university, they are in high school, they are working, they are still affected by what they see, their marital instability in their house. You are brought up in a family that is chaotic. And then we have bereavement, and this is losing someone close to you, or a pet, or an item of value. And I think I would want to talk about this. So, sometimes we lose people, relatives, we lose our parents, we lose our brother, siblings, we lose people in the family, grandparents. But then sometimes people feel like it's not, why are you even crying? But so people don't want to give you, and especially if it is a parent and now one is left and say, you know what, you need to be strong for your children, you need to be this. But then some of the youth are affected by some of the bereavement, the losses that they've had of a close family, and maybe they have not even been able to deal with it. But then I want to talk about this pet. Yeah, when you lose item, yeah, and sometimes you can lose an item that is of value, or a pet that was really close to you. Like for me, if somebody has read my book, The Hidden Treasure, I wrote about my losses, and one of the losses was my father, and then my friend, Dr. Mary Chege, may they rest in peace, and then my goat was called Mjama. I don't know if Pastor Doreen saw ataniambia baadaye, so that goat. But I took care of that goat when it was still a baby, because the mother died. And so I was feeding it in the morning, during lunchtime, in the evening, and then it started taking tea. So it was taking breakfast, lunch, and supper. If it was tea, now it started taking tea. If it is githeri, lunchtime, it will take githeri. If it is ugali and sukuma for supper, it will take. And so it grew to be like part of the family, because it was not living with the goat. So he didn't even know that it was a goat, because it was even hearing things. If you call him, it will come. If you tell him, let's go, it will also go. But then one day when I was doing my master's, I called home to find out how my goat was doing. And I was told that it was not at home. So I was like, where is it? Where is Mjama? Nobody wanted to tell me. So later, after I finished an exam, I called, and then I was told that it was sold. So I wanted to find out who sold my goat. And I think my mom and one of my brothers, they've never told me which brothers. I don't know if it was Joseph or Joel or Francis or Eric, I don't know. They conspired and they sold it without my permission. And let me tell you, this thing affected me. I was depressed. I cried in school. My friends took me to the hostel. I was doing my master then. And so then I had to go for therapy. I had to go for many counseling sessions to just talk about my goat. And you say, when people find you crying that it is because of a goat, they think like something is wrong with you. No, like a goat, or sometimes people will tell you, just a cat. It was just a cat. It was just a dog. And so there are many things that youth go through, but people just brush off and they don't think. So my goat, so I went for therapy, and I think I will still find out where my goat went. Until today, nobody told me. They were scared. And then we have, the youth might have some severe long-term stress, which actually can lead to a mental health problem. And then others also have long-term physical health condition. Some people might have sickle cell anemia. There is also cancer. There are many physical conditions that, like you are there every day taking medication, and you're like, no. Yeah, sometimes you hide because you don't want your friends to see you. And so that can actually lead to some of these mental problems. And then there's also demands in school, because now you have to do assignments, you have to do mid-target, write report, do research. And then we have some of the dysfunctional home environment. I think I've talked about the domestic violence. And then we have unsafe living condition, maybe where you're coming from, it is not safe. Yeah, gunshot all the time, and robbery, and there is a lot of fighting. And then we have acts of violence like school shooting. We have then witness another person experiencing a traumatic event. So sometimes the youth, it's not a must that the youth experience the traumatic event alone as an individual. Maybe somebody else, maybe a friend was in an attack or something, and so it also traumatized them. So that can make somebody vulnerable to a mental health. And then we have cultural and social expectation, and especially of beauty and being thin, which actually leads to eating disorder. So most of the youth are struggling with the body image, the way they look, their shape, and all this. And then feelings of inadequacy, which is coined in feelings of low self-esteem. There is a lot of anger, anxiety, loneliness. Yeah, so self-esteem is one of the biggest problems that youth are struggling with, and it cuts across. And I think that's why I even wrote a book about low self-esteem. And then we have this pressure to succeed in academics. There is a lot of pressure. Some of the youth come from a highly successful families, and your mother is there. You know what? We are all doctors here. Your father is a doctor. I'm a doctor. You have to be a doctor. You have to be an engineer. And so there is a lot of pressure. And then, of course, financial stress. Maybe you are not able to pay your school fees on time and things like those. You miss a semester. And so that can actually bring. And then we have uncertainty of major, the career path that you want to choose. And some of the youth, you find them actually in a university, or even when they are changing jobs. You get this job and you feel like it's not this one. You change, you get another one. But some at the university as the entry point, they do another major, then they reach maybe the second semester, they feel that is not enough. Then they change to another one. Then at the end of the day, people, they are in the third year, but they've changed their majors like 4 times. You see, that is frustrating. And then there is the increase of social media use, which actually leads to addiction. And then parental divorce and separation, which is one of the biggest problems that leads youth mental problems, because they are affected by their parents' divorce. And then parent-child relational problem. Sometimes our parents don't have a relationship with the youth. And so even when they have issues, they don't know who to tell. And then substance abuse by the person or the person's parents. So sometimes our parents, when their parents abuse drugs or alcohol or any other, it affects us because you feel ashamed even to bring your friends at home, and then poor teacher-student relationship, and then breakup of romantic relationship, which is very common nowadays. You find people, the girlfriend has cheated on the boyfriend, and then the boyfriend came and killed the girlfriend. Like, it is chaotic now. So some of this, maybe some people feel I've invested so much in this relationship. Some even go get help and give the girl to either pay their school fees or do something, and then the girl leaves them. So there's a lot of problems. So then you end up into depression. So romantic problems, relationship. But then the mental disorders affects the social esteem, how the youth interact. They are also rejected by peers. Nobody wants to associate with somebody who has a mental problem. And especially if you have bipolar personality disorder or this depression, this one is always crying, I don't want to be their friend. And then it can also lead to suicide or homicide. So that is where you kill yourself or you can kill other people. And then the substance use, you can start using drugs because you are depressed. And then I think because of time, academic problems, maybe in the university, in high school, and you're performing poorly. So, and then you can be suspended or expelled from the school because of poor attendance, and you actually or missing classes all the time and poor performance. And then it also changes your relationship with your siblings and your parents. Sometimes they don't know what to do with you. Then so family relationships changes completely. And then also the community can also exclude, stigmatize the family that have a youth who have a mental problem. And so that is all point. And then so people are, it creates a problem in interaction with people, even in the community. And so they are isolated because they have a problem. So what the youth need to do is at least to talk to someone when they feel some of these things, feel to talk to somebody, maybe a parent, a friend, or adult, or even a pastor, and then do physical health, physically healthy, eating balanced diet, getting regular exercises. They're actually youth who are very good. When they are stressed, they go play, they run, and it reduces the tension and it just makes them feel better, like an outlet. And then we should also be sensitive as parents, as friends, be sensitive to others and just look for these signs and help them, give the support that we need. And then they should also sleep. And some people don't sleep. You sleep for 2 hours or 3 hours, which is not healthy. And then building healthy relationship with others, practicing relaxation techniques like breathing and breathing exercises, and also avoiding alcohol and drugs use. So drugs can make you high for a short time, but then it makes you worse because again, it affects your body. But then now the last thing that can be done is therapy. You can go for family therapy or individual therapy, and you can be taught how to deal with some of these issues. If it is grief, you can be helped to process your grief. And then medication, if you have been referred to a psychiatrist because of some of the severe conditions, like maybe bipolar, schizophrenia, and depression severe, then even anxiety, you can use medication. So yes, thank you very much for the presentation. I think it took long because of the many issues, but I think that is what I can say for now. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chemtai. That has been a very intensive session. I don't know. I'm like, okay, we needed more time, but you have brought all this in this very, very short time. I think this is going to be a very important video for us to share around there. For sure, what you have shared today, I've been able to relate with a lot of it. Being a teacher, being also a health professional right now, I can see like most of the things you're talking about. I can see some of those in my students. I can see some of those in my patients. And I understand when they start talking to themselves, when they start doing stuff like this and that, I can understand. Even on my kids, I can say that, okay, when your child goes through this, you're able to relate with what they are going through. This is very powerful, and very importantly, for parents, for the young people, this was meant for the youth, but I can see that even parents who are watching this, and you have kids, you have youth, you can be able to understand them. You can be able to recognize when they are going through some tough time, so that you don't just end up like keeping on harassing them. You adding the pain on the pain, sometimes as parents, because we don't have the knowledge, we don't understand what is going on in the lives of these kids, we keep on pressuring them. We add the pain to the soul. We do things that even emphasizes or even amplifies this illness. So having this kind of understanding is very, very powerful, very, very vital. And I am so blessed that I had a chance to listen to this, and also that this platform has been honored to be able to have this kind of broadcast. I am sure that people will come across this on our platform and they'll be able to share more and more. I believe that this is going to be something that will help lives going forward in a great way. So I just want to encourage you who are watching us on YouTube to share this video with your friends, share this with your people. You have spoken some things. There are people, even married couples, they are going through this mental illness, and you also brought it from the biblical perspective, where we could see real examples of people who are depressed, people who are suicidal, people who have gone to a certain extent of pain, and they were just behaving in a certain way. And the good part of it, being that this is a Christian platform, this is a platform where we encourage spirituality, and even our meditation is from the biblical point of view. I just want to let you know that when we look at the examples that we have had today, like David, we see that David, despite the fact that he was in despair, despite the fact that he was in such a grief, such a pain, that he was so much down, but still he had hope in God. So that when everything was done, and there was nowhere else to go, he still had God. And this same thing goes on to Job, and even other people in the Bible that you can find. You see that the fact that they had God as their help, it helped them out of it. It saved them from maybe going too far, and this is very, very powerful, Dr. Chemtai. I'm so blessed. And as I promised, I am so blessed that God has used you in such a way that you say that if I knew them, I knew that God. And I was like, used to come to come home, and I'm like, you would just he was always hanging around the kitchen area.
Yes.
When I was new, I was like,
I
I have
didn't know
never
it
seen
was a
something
human.
like that, but I'm glad to know that. So otherwise, it is so nice having you, Dr. And my prayer is that you'll be able to come more and more on our platform and be a blessing to us many other times in the future. So you have been such a blessing, being number one, being someone who has a background that we can all relate with, and we cannot give excuses that because of my background I could not achieve this. Something that I don't want to forget, I was planning to do this. Dr. Chemtai has books. I don't know whether we have them on Amazon yet. Do you have them on Amazon?
Not yet. I'm planning.
Yeah, you may need to work on getting them on Amazon so that some of us who are on this other side of the world can be able to access them, because we can see that those are very, very powerful materials you have there. So we may want to come across and read more about it. So for those who are not on Amazon, if you can tell people where they can get them, even in Kenya and elsewhere. Yeah, you can just take 1 minute to tell people where they can get them.
Yes, so people can actually get them from me personally, and others are in Kapenguria. We have others at Daystar University, and yeah, so I think those are the places. I think if somebody can contact me, they can actually get it. They can get it, but we have them in Makutano, Kapenguria, in my brother's office, Eric, at the Teachers Plaza, and then I have them at Daystar, and then I have them in the house and in my office. Yes. And I've also sent some to the US to some of my friends who are there. So yeah, I've been able to give people who are coming there. Yeah.
So for those of you who come from West Pokot, you can find them at Teachers Plaza at the office of the brother that is Mr. Eric's office. I know most of you have been able to access him in one way or the other. And also he said that for those who are in diaspora, they can be able to reach me with doreen@gmail.com. You can write email to me, and then with that we can be able to give you direction on how you can receive them. Otherwise, thank you so much, Dr. Chemtai, and those of you who are watching us on YouTube and any other platform. May God bless you so much. Continue watching our programs. Tomorrow we have Apostle Lucy Modami with the program Family Time, and Sunday we will still have Manifestation Time with Dr. We are hoping to be able to share more of this what we have had today on Sunday. And those of you who are from Kapenguria, Turkana County, Trans Nzoia, Mount Elgon, Bungoma, some parts of Eldoret, those who can listen to 106.5 FM, that's Kalia Radio. We broadcast our programs every Sunday on Kalia Radio. So please, you can join us, you can tune into Kalia Radio and be able to listen to this more, and God will bless you. Otherwise, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing our video. Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel. May the Lord continue to bless you. Shalom.